In a systematic random sample, every nth individual is chosen for a survey, or is just chosen. All individuals have an equal chance of being chosen. But not all groups have an equal can be chosen. Systematic random sample. I think it unlikely that systematic random sample would come up on the AP exam, but I think it's very likely that the next one would. Matched pairs design. We haven't seen this or talked about this at all, but this is kind of a biggie. It's a special case of a randomized block design. It can be used when an experiment has only 2 treatments. Subjects are blocked into pairs based on some blocking variable or variables. Then each pair are randomly assigned to different treatments. I'm not quite done with that, but I want to go back for just a second. What are blocking variables? Why might we block What have we talked about? Age, right? Gender, you bet. Age, gender. Could be anything, but age and gender are two very big ones. And we'll cover that here in just a second. This method controls extraneous variables, or it attempts to control. As mentioned, age and gender are big ones. Now, to my knowledge, I don't know that I have, maybe I do, it seems like there's one or two, but I don't know that I have any twins this year. I certainly don't have, that I know of, any twins that are both in my class. But matched pairs designs works really well with twins, because how can you find two people that are more closely matched? You can't. Identical twins have essentially identical DNA. So if you want to compare something on an apples to apples basis, twins are awesome. In fact, I had a twin last year that said that her and her sister had been approached at different times to be part of some survey or another, not survey, but an experiment. Twins, or another way that this can happen, excuse me, is one person gets both treatments. This matched pairs design happens all the time with one person getting both treatments. For example, let's say you go to the doctor and you say, hey, I've got this condition, is there something we can do? And the doctor may say, well, there's a couple of different drugs that we can try. Let's try this one first and see how it works for you, and then give the other one a try. It's not really an experiment unless you try both drugs, but that happens pretty regularly in the medical field, things like that. So it's a matched pairs design when you match two people that are similar in some way, age, gender, or twins, or the same person with both treatments. Yeah, John?
So if you took something like a fraternal twin, and then but they have, I mean, some things are different, but some things they have in common.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think that they would test that maybe?
I would.
See if they would react the same to stuff?
I would think fraternal twins would absolutely be a good situation for this matched pairs design, simply because they're that same mom and dad, right? Same age, and
well, yeah, I have me and my brother are fraternal twins.
Okay.
And he likes green vegetables. I don't. I like him. He doesn't. But there's some things that you notice that we're the same at. Like we react to drugs like exactly the same.
Sure.
Like
sure.
if like with pain medicine we react exactly the same. Then we're allergic to the same we're both allergic to like the same stuff. So it's weird.
So I'm recording this, so I'm going to kind of repeat that. So John's saying that he's a fraternal twin, and that although there's some differences, there are many similarities. Yeah, and so I think a fraternal twin would also be an excellent situation here. When they're doing a matched pairs design, let's say with just people in general, like let's say I was part of an experiment, then they would try to match me with somebody, I would presume, that's roughly in decent shape, but doesn't do a lot to keep himself in shape, and has an occasional Big Mac, but the rest of the time eats some pretty good stuff, and of the same age, between say 45 and 50. So we would have, that would be their matching criteria, I would think. Similar lifestyle, similar ages, gender, of course. If your fraternal twin was a sister, then I think that would change things a little bit. So I can tell you that I was married to an identical twin at one point, and her and her sister were quite different. In terms of personality, I have no idea as far as drug reactions and things like that, though. So, yeah. Um, so yeah, maybe you guys can make a few extra bucks, huh? All right, the last one is double. It's not a design or sample. This is an idea that you need to know about. It's called double-blind experiments. So a couple of my friends when I was a kid were fraternal twins. One had blonde hair, one had brown hair. Other than that, they were pretty similar. They fought all the time. It was great fun to watch. Double-blind experiments. Now, all experiments, if they have any reasonable control at all, are at least single-blind. So, for example, let's say I'm going to do an experiment on Ian, and I tell Ian, okay, Ian, we're going to give you a placebo or aspirin. And I'm not going to tell you which, but I know. I'm the researcher, I know. So that's a single blind. Double blind is when the researcher and the participant is out of the loop as far as what that person's getting. There is no non-blind experiment because it doesn't make any sense. Here, I'm going to give you this placebo pill and tell me how you feel, in a couple of hours. Yeah, if you know it's a placebo, it's not so good. Neither the subject or researcher knows, or let's see, the researcher who measures the response variable knows which treatment the subject received. The other term, oh, Emily, yeah, question? Exactly. The person administering the drug to the individual doesn't know, but somebody else knows what the situation is. And the reason for that is this. If I'm a researcher and I'm giving you what I know to be a placebo, I might inadvertently treat you a little differently than I would somebody that knows that I know is getting the drug themselves. So there's going to be bias in that. And so to eliminate the bias, if the researcher administering the drug and the subject taking the drug don't know what they're getting, then that totally eliminates that bias. But you're right, there is like a dungeon master there that knows the whole scoop, right? Yeah. So the other term that I wasn't going to write down is placebo effect. Is everybody familiar with placebo and placebo effect? Sugar pill. Okay. So I felt that one was probably something people are familiar with. But anyway, let's call it good for the notes today.